you had a closet full of money that was never going to run out, what would you be doing with your time?
I would probably donate a lot of money to childhood cancer because I have a fundraiser for that called Golden Hearts. And I would also probably put some money into my podcast because that could be helpful. And donate more to the homeless people in general. Also work out. Hi everyone, welcome back. This is episode 6 of Quest for Knowledge. I'm here today with Sheyenne Kreamer, and she helps people find their purpose when they're struggling with mental health issues. So you can explain a little bit about what you do and how you can help people find their purpose with mental health issues.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you so much for inviting me here
Of
today,
course.
Mika. I appreciate it. And yeah, my husband and I are very enthusiastic about helping both our younger generations as well as our military veterans to be able to overcome some of the things that kind of interfere with their mental wellness. And finding purpose is a big part of it. There's other components to it as well. We actually have an acronym for our work we call SPARK, because to us, everything we're doing in the mental wellness arena it's partially about suicide prevention, but it's even more about helping people find joy in living. So I actually created a class many years ago for people who were struggling with career issues. It's called Find Your Song and Sing It, Finding or Creating Work You Love. And I taught that in the community college system in North Carolina for 10 years and helped people to really kind of, I like to say, connect their head and their heart so
Yeah.
that they can be able to find something that has meaning, something they feel passionate about, that they can also utilize to be able to create an income for themselves.
Nice. So what are ways people can connect their head and their heart? I've never heard of that before.
It's a great question, and it's really not as difficult as people might think. Although, what's really sad is everything that we're educated in our society really kind of encourages us not to do that. And I'll tell you where I became aware of this. I was actually valedictorian of my high school class,
Oh.
and I saw all my classmates getting ready to go off to college to study things that their parents wanted them to study. And the parents are all well-meaning. They want their kids to have a successful life. I get it. But my mother actually wanted me to go to school to become an electrical engineer. And I found out a couple of years later when I took a course in electronics, it's the only course I came close to failing in my
Oh
whole
my
entire
God.
life.
Oh my goodness.
It would not have worked. But that's why my speech was called Follow Your Heart, because there were people in my class who had passion to do things with their lives, and they were going off to do other things because they didn't feel they had permission to do what they really wanted to be doing. And I think that's, to me, is kind of where a lot of the mental wellness issues are coming from, is, if society doesn't give us permission to be who we are, and it becomes hard for us to give ourselves permission to be who we are, that's just setting you up for not a very happy life.
Yeah. When did you find out who you wanted to be and what you wanted to do?
It was a long journey, quite honestly, because I did not go to college immediately. I did not feel like I was ready. I did not feel like I really knew what I wanted to study. And so I was actually able to get into an apprenticeship program. And with that apprenticeship program, I learned about manufacturing from the ground up. So I was actually running big, huge machines and cutting metal chips and
Oh
doing
my
all kinds
God.
of interesting things that most women don't ever even get involved in. But that 3-year program gave me an opportunity to learn about manufacturing and to learn about it all over the place because I didn't just cut chips. I also was working in purchasing and finance and tool design and contracts. So I got to learn all these different things and start to get a better understanding of who I was. And the company then actually covered my costs to go to college.
Oh.
And everybody was like, oh, you should get a business degree. And I took a couple of business classes, and it was kind of funny because the things they were teaching in the business classes had already been rejected by the company I was working for as not the best practices. So I'm like, I'm not going to take a whole bunch of courses in business. That's
Oh my
not
God.
going to get me
What do you
there.
end up majoring in?
I ended up majoring in math and computer science. And so what that really did for me was it showed me how much I liked being a problem solver. And that's really where I have followed ever since then is I love to be involved in solving problems. Now, it's not just being a problem solver in my business, but now my husband and I are out here on the road so we can help solve problems in our communities.
Right.
So the same problem solving processes I learned in corporate America can be incorporated into any town, into any church, into any, organization that wants to try to solve their own problems. So we actually teach that process to people.
And you travel around the US on your bus.
Motorhome.
Motorhome. So I'm just very interested, and I'm sure the people who are listening or watching are going to be interested in how you manage that and still get everything done. Because
Well,
the whole their lifestyle.
it is.
Yeah.
It's a very different lifestyle, but it's one that we were kind of designed for because even when our children were young, we used to do a lot of camping. We did tent camping. We had what they call pop-up campers that you tow behind a car and you crank them up and they become a full camper to be able to sleep in. And so we did that with our kids all the time when they were little. And so we already liked being on the road. We like being in nature. We like, visiting different places and meeting different people. And so, the good news is that, yes, we move around a fair amount, much more than most people do because of this motorhome.
Yeah.
But we usually go somewhere and stay several months, because we look for places that we can do some kind of a project, usually something to help in the community. Like last year, we were in Raleigh, North Carolina for 7 months putting together a suicide prevention event. And then, this summer, we've actually kind of taken a little breather to take care of ourselves a little bit. We needed to do some repairs on ourselves, on our motorhome, on our car.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of that this summer. But right now, I'm actually looking around in Florida to find an organization that might partner with us to do another suicide prevention event there. So because we're not moving all the time, it's not quite as crazy. I mean, my bedroom is my office.
Oh my goodness. So what did you do in North Carolina for the suicide prevention event?
Well, that was a very challenging event because everybody agreed that what we were doing is needed. But what we ended up finding out is that people are afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's really a sad thing because the reason we went back to Raleigh, other than the fact that we lived there for 30 years and we knew a lot of people, we actually had friends that asked us to come back because one of our major universities in Raleigh had 15 suicides on campus in 1 year.
It's awful.
It is awful, and it's happening all over the country. It's just most of the schools manage to stay out of the news with it. But it's a horrible thing. And so what we did with our event was first of all, we had a 2-hour panel discussion, which can be seen online. It's actually available on one of my YouTube channels. But in that panel discussion, we had we had a lot of people who had either survived a suicide attempt. One person actually tried 5 times,
That's sad.
still survived. And we had several people who had lost a parent, lost a daughter, lost a spouse. And so they were all there telling their stories about, first of all, what happened to them as a result of either surviving or being still here after losing a loved one. And the interesting thing was that every single one of them found new purpose in their
That's
life
amazing.
as a result of it all. And so they were all doing their own things, but they were all doing them in ways that they wanted to help more people find joy in living. So, even though the stories are tragic, the things that people were doing as a result of those experiences were fabulous.
Yeah.
And then we had a huge room full of vendors that were not your typical clinical therapists. They were not doctors that would be looking to prescribe antidepressants or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
These were all people who have different modalities. I call them natural modalities or complementary modalities that can be used to get better results when people are struggling with depression and anxiety and suicide ideation, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we've been trying to teach people out. Duke University calls it integrative medicine. So they say, there's nothing wrong with traditional Western medicine. Talk therapy is valuable. There's sometimes pharmaceuticals are needed. Yeah. But if we want to get better results, we need to integrate it with more natural things. So my husband and I teach people a lot about mineral-based nutrition and how that can improve brain health and brain function, can help to calm emotions. You and I talked a little bit about the concept of tapping,
Yeah.
Emotional freedom technique it's called, and it can do a lot to help relax a person. I have a friend who's a certified therapeutic drummer, and she did, she's done amazing things to help people combat depression and anxiety and ADD and lots of other things. So those were all people we had at the event so people could learn and explore. And, we actually ended the event by having a small group of people who went to a park and just prayed about it.
That's
and said,
amazing.
We're asking for help.
So, do you want to explain what tapping is and drumming for therapy is? Because before you and I talked, I had no idea what that was, and I'm sure a lot of the people listening are probably like, "What is that?" So, do you want to explain a little bit about what that is?
Sure. Well, tapping is fairly easy to explain because it's fairly easy to be able to demonstrate. And I mean, I've used it personally for years. I went through some rather tough challenges a number of years ago, and tapping was one of my best friends. And really, it just involves. They talk about a karate chop that you use, and you do kind of a karate chop on your hand. And all you'd want to do is to just bring forward into your conscious mind something that may be really concerning to you right now. So, you might say, okay, well, even though I'm really afraid of heights, it's okay. I still can love myself. I still can manage to find calm in the middle of a storm when I'm dealing with heights. And then you're tapping here, and you're tapping here, and you're tapping here and here. And so you're tapping all these points on your body while you continue to just say, and I am grateful that I can be calm. I am grateful that I can love myself regardless of what I'm feeling. And you go through that tapping cycle several times, and you take some deep breaths.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing that you can kind of feel your body just start to relax.
Is that similar to acupuncture?
It uses acupuncture points. So acupuncture, some people are really afraid of. They're afraid of needles. I don't blame them. I don't like needles either. But these different points on the face and even like here, these are all acupuncture points where if you went to an acupuncturist, instead of them tapping on them, they'd be inserting needles because they're just trying to get the energy to flow through the body again. Because it's kind of like if you can picture what happens if a tree falls over in the middle of a river, it creates a dam. You don't have the river flowing
Yeah.
anymore. And the same thing happens in our body. And so the tapping helps that energy to flow through our body again.
It takes open-mindedness, though, because it's very unique.
Well, it is unique, and it's actually sad that it's unique. And you asked about my drummer friend as well, and her name is Dory, and she's been doing drum therapy for a long time, and she has been able to work with young people on the autism spectrum who were nonverbal, and just by she uses African djembe drums. And she has very specific beats that she does. And, sometimes she's doing things to kind of help sync up the left and the right brain to get more activity going on in the brain, because drumming creates vibration. Right. And vibration does have a healing effect on the body. And she has taken some of these nonverbal children and they've started to speak after working with her for a while. So,
how does that work?
These are... Well, again, the vibrations, from the drumming, and then some of the things that you can do with your hands and just getting your brain to sync up left and right. Sometimes I'm trying to think that sometimes there's people who will do, exercises where they're crossing their hands and their legs over, and that's to help get your left and right brain working together. So I don't understand all the science of it. My friend Dory definitely understands a lot more of it than I do, but I've seen her work with young people who, very definitely were dealing with ADHD symptoms where they just couldn't sit still at all. And whenever I would teach classes with young people, I would ask her to come in and do drumming with them first, because then they'd calm down enough so I could teach.
So what do you teach when you go to the events? You specifically, not Dory.
Gotcha. Well, it depends on what I'm needed to teach. I do a lot of different things. I mean, my Find Your Song and Sing It class, I can do mini workshops on that to try to help people discover a purpose, a passion, a mission for their life. But I also do a lot with helping people to understand about the mineral-based nutrition. One of the things I love to do is I can take my phone, and I've got an app, and I can put somebody's email address in here, and I can send them an email that allows them to be able to use their own cell phone to do a face scan. And it uses the camera on your phone, and in that face scan, it'll give you a report, and it'll tell you what's working well in your body and what's a little out of balance. And it even will tell you specific nutritional products that you could take to help your body be more
What's
in
the app
balance.
called?
So I love doing that.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
What's the app called?
Well, the app's called Vicera, and I have to pay for the app, but because I pay for it so that I can, give people the opportunity to do the scan, whoever I'm working with, I mean, I can charge a fee to be able to do the scans for people, but a lot of times I do them for free as well, just because I want people to start to understand what's going on in their body and how nutrition could help to improve their situation.
So what do you eat for this? Because do you follow the mineral-based eating?
Well, I wish I could. The problem is there is no minerals in our food
I've heard
anymore.
that, actually.
Because it's true, because plants can make their own vitamins, but they can't make their own minerals. And so because all of our land that's using to grow crops have been stripped of all the minerals, and they don't put minerals back in the soil, so the plants can't absorb them. So you could be eating the best food in the world and you're still not getting the minerals that your body needs to be able to repair itself. So that's why my husband and I work a lot with nutritional
Hmm.
supplements that have anywhere from 60 to 80 minerals in
Huh.
them, because that's what we really need for
Yeah.
our body.
So I've struggled with anxiety pretty much my whole life, and I know a lot of other people do. It's not that it's not common, it's very common. So what do you think some natural coping strategies for therapy are for anxiety specifically?
Well, and I have to make sure I say I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor. I'm not a
I mean, you work
therapist.
with people though.
I yeah, I work with people, but I do not claim to cure anybody of
Right.
anything. Definitely things like tapping can help to relieve symptoms. Definitely things like drumming can help to relieve symptoms. There's so many other modalities out there that can help, even breathing. I have a friend back in Raleigh, and I've got several others that they talk about breath work, and they teach people how to, breathe in cycles where just doing some slow rhythmic breathing can kind of calm your whole nervous system as well. So there's a lot of things that can be utilized. Now, another thing a lot of people don't know a lot about is essential
Yeah.
oils. I always find it interesting that people don't know much about the healing power of oils because they're mentioned over 1,000 times in the Bible. And it's like, okay, so if frankincense and myrrh was good enough for Jesus, then it should be good enough
Right.
for us.
Exactly. My grandma actually uses oils all the time and the breathing because when I was younger, my anxiety was
Mm.
the worst and she saw that. So she was like, the 3, 2, 1, you like inhale for 3, then hold for 3, then exhale for 3. It actually helps. And now that you
It
said
does.
oils help too, I'm gonna have to go to Target after this and get some oils. But oils do work.
Well, and They
Yeah.
they do. Lavender is a great calming oil. That is great. A lot of people have little
Yeah.
diffusers where you can pour some water in and put some of the essential oils in, plug it in, and it'll create a mist so that you can breathe it in. And for a lot of people, that
Yeah.
really helps. You can also use oils. You can put them, in a bath, or you can rub them on your skin. Some of them are high quality where some people feel they're actually safe to take internally. I'm not sure all that I would get off from a shelf in a Target would make me feel like
Yeah.
doing that. But there are some companies out there that, really do an excellent job of creating oils that are safe to be able to take internally as well. So those are all things that people can do to
Yeah.
kind of help. And discovering a purpose, a passion, a mission can do a lot as well. I've struggled with depression off and on my whole life. I had a lot of it when I was a teenager. For me, my mom ended up getting me a dog, which helped me a lot at that point in time. But also, just getting to a place where I feel like I'm helping other people. If I get knocked off my path, I can get depressed again.
Yeah.
It's like I can drop in a heartbeat. And, but I'm always, sometimes something will happen that we didn't expect. It can be a challenge to deal with, but I always, after I take a little break and just relax and breathe through it for a while, I can usually start to see a new path for continuing the work, which for me is all about helping to heal body, mind, and spirit so that more people are living in their purpose, passion, and mission. So that's my mission. That's
Yeah.
my goal. And as long as I can continue to help other people in that way, then I'm a happy camper, literally.
Literally, a happy camper. How can young people like me, because I'm 17, find their purpose? Is it just through
Mm.
experiencing different things, figuring it out?
Experience is a big thing, but I'll give you my secret 4 questions that I use. And yes, it's easier, I think, with older adults who have had more experiences, but I think our younger folks can start to be able to discover some of these things as well. So there's 4 questions that I always ask people to try to help them kind of start to connect their head and their heart. And so I'm curious what your answer to this one would be, because a lot of people can't answer this. So
Let's
don't
see if
feel
I can
bad if you
answer.
can't. All right. So if you had a closet full of money that was never going to run out, what would you be doing with your time?
Working out. Yeah,
Working out.
100%.
That's it?
Working out. Yeah, that's it. Talking to people. That's it. What would you
Okay.
do?
Okay.
What would you do?
Well, Well, for me, I mean, for one, I would be putting tons of money into a fund so that I could be able to pay other people to provide some of these non-traditional healing modalities, because they're not paid for by
Yeah.
health insurance. So a lot of people never get to experience them. So there, I'd put a big chunk of money into a fund like that to be able to pay other people to provide those services. But the other thing is, I'm in the process of trying to do this now. I would be buying probably small campgrounds all over the country where I could create my own little tiny home communities where I could house somebody who needed housing, be able to help with their healing processes with body, mind, and spirit, and to be able to teach them entrepreneurial skills, because I think those are the elements together that can help people to find joy in living
That's
again.
amazing. Now I understand your question more, and now my answer changed after you answered.
Okay, so what
I
is
would
it now?
probably donate a lot of money to childhood cancer because I have a fundraiser for that called Golden Hearts. I do.
Really?
And yes, actually,
Wow.
I met somebody. His name is Grayson. I was volunteering. He was 13 at the time, and then he passed away, sadly. So I started it in honor of him. And I would
Wow.
also probably put some money into my podcast because that could be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
donate more to the homeless people in general. And also work out,
Okay.
but that too.
Well, there
Yes.
you go. There you go. So, what's your goal for working out? Are you ready to become a bodybuilder? Or are you just trying to keep your weight
I
in the
mean,
right place? I mean, what are your goals? Why is working out so
it
important
helps
to
my
you?
mental health a lot, honestly. That's part of it. I also do
Ah,
boxing, and the gym that I go to, it's like my favorite place on earth. I say I love it more than Italy, which is true. And it's because of the people. It's like
wow.
the way they make me feel. And Italy doesn't make me feel like that. It's pretty, of course, but it doesn't make me feel the same.
Wow, I love it. Okay, well that tells me a little more
Yeah.
about you. So that's my first question I asked. The second question I asked, you might already have answered, because the second question is oftentimes, what have you experienced in your life that caused you some emotional trauma, that you had to work over, around, or through, that perhaps you've learned something that could be helpful to somebody else. So, it sounds like you were motivated to do something with this young person who died from
Yeah.
cancer, and that's a beautiful thing for sure. But a lot of times also, there's traumatic things we go through in our lives that causes us to learn things that we could then be teaching other people to be able to bring hope into their lives. Is there anything you can think of that you could be
I mean,
teaching other
definitely
people?
in my anxiety. I talked about it in my last episode and how I turned my anxiety
Mm-hmm.
into confidence because there were so many times where I had panic attacks over the smallest things about a receipt because I was scared I was gonna get arrested even though I paid. I left this like Asian market And I was like, okay, Mom, we can go now. And I thought the guy thought that I was stealing what I was buying, but we actually bought it. So I held on to that receipt like it was like my driver's license. It was crazy. So I say now to put yourself in a vulnerable position because it helps you grow and become more confident and learn.
Mm. Well, see, and you may not have a lot of years behind you, but you already are starting to recognize that you can help other people be able to cope the same way that you've
Yeah.
been learning all these different things, how to cope with anxiety. So, that's beautiful. I mean, you're already in that space. The third thing I always ask people is, if you have any hobbies or things that you really enjoy doing. So I'm like, wow, you're into working out and boxing. I mean, who knows? Maybe you should be a personal
Oh yeah.
trainer of some
Yeah.
sort.
The amount of things I want to be, it's like I would have to have 1,000 lives to do it because, yeah, it's too many things. It's too many things.
That's
It's
all
okay.
right. That's all right. That just gives you lots of
Right.
options,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
There you go. And then the fourth question is kind of a catch-all. If people can't come up with some real strong answers in the first three, usually people can come up with something with the fourth one. And that one is, what if you're looking out into the world, is there something out here that makes you either really, really angry or really, really sad?
Yes.
Because anger and sadness are typically tied to something we're passionate about.
Yeah.
So if you got really sad about the young man who passed away, then you decided to do something to try to help others so they wouldn't have to go through the same thing. So, that's one example. Now I don't know if there's anything that makes you
There
really
are
angry out
there
here
are
or
a
not, but
few. I need to be careful with what I say because certain people may be watching, but a current
I
situation
understand.
happening in the world with another country. So, that's what I'll say. Yes.
Okay. Fair
Yes.
enough. Fair enough. So, but those four questions can usually give you some pretty good ideas about where a passion, purpose, or
Yeah.
mission lie. And, and like I said, you're already kind of tuning in on some of those, which is good. Because those are the things that will keep you moving forward, even when you come into stumbling blocks or things that wish were different. You start to find yourself becoming a better and better
Yeah.
problem solver, which is
Exactly.
what I've learned how to do.
Exactly. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, thank you so much for joining in today. It was very nice having you on here.
You're
We're
welcome.
just, yes.
You're welcome.
Okay. Have an amazing day to everybody watching and make your mission to make somebody else smile.